Well, welcome, and thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll just get started.
Sure. So you graduated from the University of Kansas, and you majored in communications with a minor in journalism. How has that helped you within the communication world?
That's a great question, and so I hope there's. I know everybody like the Missouri and Kansas City or University of Kansas thing, but I am Rock Chalk Jayhawk. So, and we had a very good basketball team when I was there. I will say that nothing helps more than real life experiences, but definitely. There's always a rivalry between who has the best journalism school, and our school is rated in one of the top 5, and I don't actually know if it still is, but when I was there it was, and it gave me phenomenal just writing, editing, and being able to ask the teachers things, but communications as well, just being able to know and also feeling comfortable about being in front of people and making sure I knew, I guess, the route that I was going to take was going to fit me. Originally, I was actually more interested in going into broadcast journalism, and then kind of switched it at the end because my dad said I only had 4 years, and that was it. So I had to figure it out pretty quick which route I was going to take.
So what drew you into wanting to do communications as a career through high school and then in college as well?
I don't think there's anything that really drew me in. I think that I just, like I said, originally I was kind of heading the broadcast journalism route. My grandfather always said that he wanted me to be like the next big, person on TV. My grandfather is such a doll. And he always said, I can see you doing that. I can see you doing that. And I actually really loved just media in general. But then I actually interned at Channel 5, and when I saw some of the things, I guess, in the station, knowing that you might have to go and kind of start in other areas, I felt like that might not be the route for me. Does that answer your question well?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. I see that you're also participated in ABC's The Bachelor, so what was that experience like being on that TV show?
The experience was fun. I get the question a lot. It came in my life when I had a turning point. I actually lived in Miami for 7 years. Right after I graduated, I came back, got myself situated, and I think I took off after only being in St. Louis for 6 months after graduating. Went to Miami, and then I ended up getting engaged and was heading back to St. Louis for somebody that I met, and that kind of fell through. So somebody actually entered me into The Bachelor. So it was a nice getaway. Not all of the women on the show are crazy, I hope. I'm watching it right now and they seem a little crazy. But it was just a fun experience. I still have friends from the show. It just allowed me to meet a lot of different people. I got to meet the production crews and the people that worked with the production, and it did allow, and I saw one of your questions, it did allow me to, I think it took me into some different areas of my life that I maybe wouldn't have had if I hadn't done that. Just don't act crazy on television. It'll follow you, just like Facebook or anything on social media. It will follow you forever. So just remember that. So I didn't drink like a lot of the other girls did.
So you said that you lived in Miami and you worked in Miami. We saw that you launched a Miami Metro magazine event, and you worked for them in special events. What was that like?
So I worked for a magazine that competed with Ocean Drive. If anybody goes to Florida or has family in Florida, Ocean Drive is a major magazine down there, and we were the city magazine that competed with it. It was originally called the South Florida Magazine, and then it turned to Miami Metro. I was there when they were doing the name change, which is kind of difficult for a magazine that has been around for a long time. And I loved living in Florida, living in Miami, especially just getting out of college. It was phenomenal. And the magazine industry, I loved. I thought it was great. It's difficult, especially now with everything being online. At that time, it wasn't the exact same as it is now. But just, I was involved in many different areas, from the events, helping with partnering relationships, trying to bring in ad sales with the relationships of the events. And it was the first time that I kind of said to the publisher, we have to do something bigger because our magazine really wasn't doing anything to compete with Ocean Drive. So we did it at the Biltmore Hotel, which is a really big hotel in Florida, and it was phenomenal. And it definitely took us to a different level, so it was very fun.
Helping out with that, the magazine's first anniversary party, was that your favorite event that you participated in, or was there another one within Miami Metro?
You know, I would say that that was the most memorable because it really took us to a different level. And it was like me and 2 other people that were working it. To know that you can have such a small group and make something big come alive is phenomenal. We had so much support, so it was really great. I definitely think it was probably one of the most beneficial. And there's actually I think, level 2 hurricane that was coming in as the party was winding down too. I remember that as well. So it was pretty fun.
How do you deal with crises like that at special events?
That was happening as everybody was leaving. So thank God it was coming down to the party wrapping up, and we didn't know that was going to happen throughout the night is when it got worse. But to answer your question, me personally prefer non-crisis situations. I'm not a PR crisis person. That is not the area that I really like to handle. I like the PR professional crisis people to handle those things. I like to promote and do the things that are fun and exciting, want people to know awareness about what's happening, especially in this city. All the fun things that are happening, things that are more exciting. That's kind of that's the side that I personally like. I don't want to clean up something that's bad. There's other professionals for that.
So you are currently a PR manager and executive team member for Neiman Marcus. So what has your experience been like since starting there in 2012?
So I had my own company for 7 years and loved that, and then had some different things in my family kind of change, so I decided to go back into the corporate world. And now being there, it's going to be, I think, 3 years this summer. And it is coming from being out on your own and going back to corporate can be very difficult because it's definitely it's a life changer. But it's been nice working around people all the time because I had a very small team. There was only about 6 of us, so changing from that environment and then being around people all the time has been fun. And it's been interesting because it's been not as much public relations and promoting to the media as it has been kind of more event driven and promotions, which is kind of more of how retail is going these days.
Going off of Neiman Marcus, what sort of events have you enjoyed planning while being there?
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fashion's Night Out, but that was a big event that was created by Anna Wintour, who runs Vogue and pretty much everything in fashion. That, when I first started, that was like the biggest one that we did, and we had over 700 people come in. Recently, within the last, I think it's been now a year or 2, they've changed that because it was going on for a while, and a lot of the retail companies and boutiques and luxury companies were feeling like people were just coming out and really just eating and drinking and not really purchasing. And the whole reason that Fashion's Night Out even started was due to the recession, trying to get people back out, wanting to get back into fashion and making it feel alive. So now our bigger events, it just depends. We just did one last Wednesday. We probably had 100 people. I mean, that's not huge. And I did like a fashion presentation where we announced all the spring trends. Sometimes I host them with other local celebrities in town. Sometimes, we have personal appearances by designers that come in. So it just depends.
Gotcha. Fashion Week has been going on in New York City just this past week. So what has your involvement been in that, if at all?
We don't participate. I mean, our Ken Downing is our fashion director guru, and he's the one that would go to all of those things. So he sits in, goes to everything, and then he kind of like gets all the PR managers on a call and goes through everything that's happening so that we know what we're going to be planning for next season.
So over the holiday season, Neiman Marcus and Target did a collaboration together. What was your favorite part within this collaboration, or certain events that you helped out within that?
So that was, I think 2 years ago we did that one, and yeah, and that was actually a great collaboration at the time. It wasn't as great, I think, for Neiman Marcus as it might have been for Target, just because of the audiences that we were targeting. But I still felt, because that's what you see nowadays, is all the designers have two different lines. You know, one might be luxury, and one might be something that's a little bit more manageable for people to attain to and be able to purchase. So we had the largest turnout in the Midwest for our store, which was great. We had a line out the door, and people were there at 6 a.m. So it was an interesting experience. We had a ton of press on it, so that was great.
Social media is huge right now for businesses to communicate directly with their clientele. So how has that helped you within the Neiman Marcus and PR world?
For us, social media, we have our corporate offices handle most of that, but what we do, especially at the events, is we create or have all the hashtags, and when people come in, we are kind of trying to get them to take pictures of things, or mainly really focused on the pictures more than anything else, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, any of that, because if they start doing that and they use the hashtag that we tell them to use, then obviously we're trending at the time and our store is being pulled up. So no matter, you know, what's happening, people are seeing what's happening in the store of St. Louis. So I know when you speak of Fashion Week, we actually participate in the local Fashion Week with the Live magazine, and when we had and hosted that one, we were actually a big top trender for that, because we had so many people that were constantly, you know, just showing all the looks that we had.
Gotcha. And you help with special events for that too, is that correct?
For Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So when I had Cheresse Inc., which was my company, we actually were involved in the beginning of Fashion Week, which started first downtown. It was at the Chase Hotel, and then it was at a couple of the different hotels downtown. It was in the streets of downtown. It was at open spaces downtown. So, and now it's kind of evolved into something even bigger. So it's been fun to watch it grow.
And I saw in an interview with Alive magazine a few years ago that you contribute to having your fashion icons be Audrey Hepburn and Jackie Kennedy. So how do you channel that into your personal life when you pick out your outfits?
Ooh, I'm not sure I do it on a regular basis, but those are two of my favorite style icons. I think because they have such just a classic beauty, and so many of the trends that they had don't seem to be ones that go away, because a lot of the trends that we see in fashion, they kind of come in, like right now, fringe is very hot, you know, white on white is very hot, the no color. So things that you might not see people doing all the time. I felt like those women had such a great sense of classic style that would last. I think that's why I love it, and I try to, in my black, I try to have a lot of that.
You've been involved with many charities throughout your career. What are some of the charities that you're currently involved in right now?
And also, both myself and then working with Neiman Marcus, we give a lot of money back to the city of St. Louis and the community as much as we can. That's one of the biggest things that Neiman Marcus in general likes to do with all 41 stores. And for myself, currently, I'm on the Press Club, which is the organization, and something probably, if anybody here, I know they actually give scholarships out for students who are going into the communication and journalism world. We have an event with them on Saturday. And I've actually gotten them to create and name an award after Neiman Marcus, so it's going to be a Neiman Marcus scholarship, and students can get anywhere from, I think, $1,500 to like $5,000 to help them at the schools, and I can give you more information if you don't know about that. But it's a great thing. I love being on it. I've actually, one of the girls who's won the scholarship is coming in to help us on Saturday. We stay in touch with her. It's wonderful to see people be able to get those types of things. The Fashion Fund is another organization that's recently been created and I'm on the board of. And I'm also very involved with the Contemporary Art Museum. So those are just a few. There's a lot of committees that I help out on too. It's kind of hard to be on so many boards, because once you do that, you're either, you know, your time that you need to give to that needs to be very sensitive, because you need to be able to help quite a bit, or you shouldn't probably be on it.
Your favorite part, though, or what is your favorite part being with all these charities, giving your time to help out with them?
I think my favorite part is probably helping to raise the money that comes in, because once the money's raised, then you can see all the good that it does afterwards. So the event that we have on Saturday, it's really been something that I've kind of taken over personally, and it's grown so much. We've already been able to like double what we've done in the past, and that I think has been the biggest accomplishment, because then you get, when I actually get to see people, able to have things or get things that they've wanted. For the Fashion Fund, we raise money for people that, I wouldn't say local designers, but designers all over, that they're trying to get their line out there. They're trying to find ways to make their line happen. They're trying to be introduced to different big branding companies so they can make a living for themselves. So if we're able to give them money, then they can make those things happen. Oh, and the Humane Society, because I'm a huge pet fan. I have a dog and a black lab, and I give money to them all the time. All the time.
What kind of events do you guys have coming up with Neiman Marcus that you're planning for and preparing for?
So we just ended a beauty event, and yesterday we did another trend fashion presentation. Saturday we have our charity event that we're doing with the Press Club, and that's another beauty event. The following Saturday after that, we have an event called Project Beauty. So we could have anywhere 10 plus events in a month. It just depends. And they range from being in the store and out of the store. We've done things, I'm talking to the St. Louis Art Museum about hosting a private event for some of our top clients there. We've had our fashion director come in, and we did a huge fashion show at the Contemporary Art Museum. And that was another big event that we helped raise money for as well. So it just depends on the timing and the style of it.
So what are some words or words of advice you would give to these communication students within the work field today?
So I think it really depends on where you want to be and what you're interested in. So whether you want to be a writer or broadcast journalism, it just depends on what you're interested in. But I would make sure that, one, being out there in the real world, interning, whatever you can do to be out there, being out there is very important. I tried to intern and be involved in many companies as I could, and that actually led me to a lot more places. It also opened a door. Getting in to know certain people opens a door for you, whether you want to be in that company or another company. So that would be, I think, my biggest piece of advice, if that helps.
Right now, we're opening it up for any questions anybody has in the audience for Cheresse.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for your participation today. Thank you, Cheresse, for coming in with us. Thank you to Ryan and Glynis for interviewing. Thank you all for coming and watching today. This has been the Spring 2015 Media Talk.